Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and today we're going to be working on the 33 3-window project again. We're still trying to gain ground on getting the car kind of solid and not a floppy mess. So in the last video was a huge one. We got the floors put down, our heavy duty floors, and we got some tabs welded in the front A-pillars that are just kind of temporary, and we welded the rear wheel well area to the floors, which lock the body kind of in the place that we want as far as the body positioning, and also to give it some stability so we can move the car around without having to be so delicate. So the big thing that's going to give this car some structure is this whole area here that is just totally cut out. So back in the day when guys would channel these cars, they would literally just cut, like you can see here, it's just all jagged. They would just torch it out, drop the car down, and they'd maybe weld 4 little tabs and just lay plywood down, and hey, we're good to go. And the car was just totally a floppy mess. So by adding some inner rockers or door sills in here that are integrated into our floors, back into the rockers, and then also into the A and B pillars, is going to really lock this huge door opening on a 3-window back in and get it from twisting and moving every time you shut the door or move the car around, and it should be a big help. So I'm keeping it very simple on this car as far as this stuff goes, and same idea, I'm going to build some pieces out of 14 gauge that are going to come out, meet with the A pillar and B pillar, and then come back in and go to the floor, and then I can weld everything up and blend it in. I'm going to be using, luckily on this car, they left a little bit of the sub rail section, if you want to call it that, on here. So what I can do is basically just kind of like even out their cut, and then I can mate it up with those inner door sills and utilize those pieces. Then later in what we're going to be doing is I have some replacement door sill sections, outer rocker pieces, and the other side especially is pretty pinholed, so I may use part or all of this whole piece here, and that actually spot welds into this. So, but I want to first get the structure and everything solid before we start cutting this out, and it'll really turn into a mess. So work on getting these pieces cut and smoothed and kind of an even area that we can build a pattern off of, and then we'll build our pattern and start making these inner door sills. right, so I got the rocker area or door sill area welded in. I welded up the whole top area to the floor, which worked out really good. And then we saw in those last couple shots I was doing is I was working along and cutting with the cutoff grinder and tapping everything in for the inner door sill that was there, the sub rail, to match what I was doing. Now what we found in the process was this door sill was actually rolled underneath of the car, and when we were trying to fit the door, we were finding that the door was set out from the lower rocker strip quite a bit. And when I was starting to do all this and line it up, I realized that this rocker strip, just by hand, I could actually pull it back out. So when I rolled this inner rocker, or this lower rocker strip out, it pushed this piece in, which lined up really nicely with the strip that I had started to tack in place. So I basically just worked along as we went, cutting a little bit, tacking, and kind of rolling it and tapping it in. And we've already added a ton of strength to this just by doing that, because we're locked into our A-pillars here with my temporary tab, and now we're locked into the floors with the rocker strip here. So now what we need to do is just connect the dots. So the front corner here has some area that's cut and ripped, so I have to address that at some point, but I want to get a piece that bridges this rocker strip into the A-pillar and then also into the B-pillar, majorly in the B-pillar, because right now I have a piece of box tubing shoved in that keeps the B-pillar away from the frame so that it doesn't pinch in on itself, because that actually affects how the door opens and shuts and latches. So we need to get this piece bent up here and connected, then everything will fit and open and shut nicely, and we can move on to the other side. So that's where we're at, and I'm going to get these pieces made, same thing, at a 14 gauge, and then we can move the car over and start getting on the other side. More than I needed. Alright, so we got the rear part patched here and in, and the B-pillar is locked in, which is really nice. You can see back there, I just hit the welds really quick with the belt sander, knock it down so that everything worked correctly, shutting the door. And now we just got this front corner here, we have this little temporary brace in. So what this will do, allow us to lock it into the rocker, lock it into the A-pillar, and then eventually we can get rid of that little temporary brace. So I just have same gauge sheet metal, and this is obviously on a curve, but we just need a little sliver basically that's going to be like at an angle to create that corner. So I'm going to cut this on Eastwood shear, hand shear, and then we should be able to bend this sliver by hand, get it fit in there, tack it, weld it up, and bing bang boom, it's all locked in. Curvature too. Shear put the curve almost I needed. Patch that hole afterwards. Not too much. so after a lot of long welds, I got both sides all welded together, blended out the welds, and D8 everything, and it's looking pretty good. I like the way that the original sub rails kind of blend into all this. While it doesn't look factory, it doesn't look super awkward or anything like that, and it's very strong. So what I now have to go back and do as we do this build is I'm gonna have to go back and readjust the doors and get everything sitting right. Now that we have the body super solid with these rockers all locked in, now the doors, things were flexing when we were opening and shutting the doors, and they do not flex now. So now we can really dial those hinges in. People were talking in the first video when we did the hinges, how you need to have the car all locked down, blah, blah, blah. Well, the doors were so far off that we needed to adjust the hinges to even get remotely close to getting them shut so that we could do this work, and now we can fine tune everything, and we may have to slice and dice and get stuff to sit right, but super, super solid, and I'm really, really happy with how far this car came in just like a short period of maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks. We have a lot of progress on this car, and we can keep moving forward. So now that this is done, one of the next things that I can do is actually, I want to build a support bar in the back that's basically going to push on the B-pillars and support the B-pillars from behind, and it also is going to wrap around, give us an area to attach our trunk lid hinges to, since there's not wood there, and also have some uprights that will go down into our nice sturdy floor, and will really get the body super ultra stiff, and we should be good to go to continue building up from there. So huge progress on this car. It's nice to not have giant torched out holes when you open the door now. It's kind of nice, and it looks pretty cool when you open this all up, and it is a huge success for this project. So thank you guys for following along. I really appreciate it. Catch you later.